Ross, let me go over here so we're not in the same spot.
All right, this is breaking news on the left side of your screen. I'm Matthew Alvarez here at RSBN Live. First, let's do this. You see at the bottom right of your screen, everything's okay there. Let's just say that at first here. President Trump just landing in Florida at West Palm Beach International Airport. You see that on the bottom right of your screen. So the president is good. He's safe there in Florida. To the left of your screen, that is in the Philadelphia area. As you guys have been following, a small plane crash near a mall there, crashing into a number of homes in that area. That's the latest word that we're hearing at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, this is a very scary time in the so-called friendly skies, because we saw what just happened on Wednesday night with the American Airlines flight flying in from Wichita to DCA, and then the Black Hawk helicopter, how they collided, and 67 people lost their lives on Wednesday night. And now here we are on Friday night, 48 hours later, almost exactly 48 hours later, where a small plane has gone down in Philadelphia. So this is something that we're hearing thanks to our COO, Grace Aldana, sending us a message that the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, the secretary, just sworn in the other day, is gathering more information about what happened here. And people on social media right now are very concerned because what they see on the videos is a plane going down at a missile-like speed, just straight down, and a huge fireball that erupted there. So we do know it is a small plane that went down in Philadelphia. Of course, unfortunately, around the country, the small plane crashes, obviously, they do happen on occasion. It's a very sad event, of course. But on top of this, this is not a plane going down in a field. This is going down near a mall into a number of homes in the Philadelphia area. Again, this is on the heels of just the other day when the plane and the helicopter collided on Wednesday night. So once again, everything's okay in the bottom right of your screen as we take a live look there, both at President Trump deplaning from Air Force One, going to be stepping into the Suburbans there and going to Mar-a-Lago. If he steps over to the camera, we'll go there live, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So President Trump, all good there after a great first 11 days as the President of the United States. And now we shift our attention here to the left side of the screen right now, live near a Philadelphia mall. So what I'm seeing is, of course, emergency services responded to the crash. We're hearing from the Associated Press it resulted in multiple casualties. The aircraft, which was carrying two passengers, caused that large fiery explosion that set multiple homes on fire, a local CBS affiliate is reporting. Video footage captured heavy smoke in the area with debris sprawled in the parking lot of the mall as local police and fire responded to the scene, that according to the New York Post in conjunction with Fox 29 in that region there. And we're just covering the latest as we get it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Once again, this is RSBN Live. At the bottom right of your screen, President Trump safe and sound in Florida, of course, going into the motorcade right there, some of the strongest vehicles known to man right there as we take that live look on the bottom right of your screen. Everything's good on that sector there. But if you shift over to Philadelphia, obviously not looking too good. Obviously, a number of people losing their lives in Philly. This after a small plane went down some time ago. So again, within 48 hours of flying situations, we've got the disaster in Washington, D.C. over the Potomac River. And then we have now 48 hours later, the small plane going down there. Speaking of the number 48, in Philadelphia, I checked on the way in, it's 48 degrees and rainy there. So it's not like it was icy or cold. It's just maybe more overcast there in Philadelphia. Again, let's go back to the right side of your screen. You see Palm Beach, Florida. That's the 47th president on his way back to his home. Everything's good there. And then we'll get the latest as we can get it with Philadelphia. Now, again, the Department of Transportation Secretary, I do know this, is on the way to finding out more information from the FAA. As you see the flashing lights there with the emergency services in Philadelphia. At this point, we have no idea on the amount of injuries or fatalities at that small plane crash. We do know that it was near a mall in Philadelphia, and also that it apparently hit a number of houses. Not sure if they're apartments, not sure if they're big homes, not seeing it specifically right now. Obviously, we just see Philadelphia there on the left side of your screen. So if I continue on with some more information, it does look like the footage captured that large fireball erupting after the plane nosedived, but this was not a plane that was just, it seemed that it lost its, engine and just was trying to make it. It was going down and going down very, very fast, according to that video. So it looks like we'll be having a number of people joining us here soon, including Dan Milliken. This guy has a channel on YouTube called Taking Off. So I'm going to give him a call here right now and see if I can get him live on the line. Go ahead, producer. Okay. I'm gonna make a call here just in general on the actual cell phone, as I want to get his take on things, if he would so kindly share with us, one of these great pilots here. Hey Dan, this is Matthew Alvarez on Right Side Broadcasting. We're covering the story about the Philadelphia plane that just went down. Not sure if you heard of it. Yeah, and I just got your cell from Brian out there in California. Can you, I'll send you a Zoom link. Would you be able to join us on live? Okay. How about I send you a link, and if you can join us, it could be casual, and we'd love to hear your expertise just on... No worries. I'll send you a link right now.
Are you familiar with me and my channel or anything?
A little bit. Taking Off, it's called. You can share that with us as soon as we put you on. Is that okay?
Okay, I'll be there in about 2.5 minutes.
All right, copy that. We'll see you in a sec. All right, so that is a guy by the name of Dan Milliken. This guy apparently has quite the following on YouTube when it comes to all sorts of aviation. Obviously gathering aviation experts here at the network. I actually called a former pilot of a buddy of mine that was a pilot for several years. Met him and his wife at a church one day, and we've been friends ever since. But we'll see what we can get on here. So let me send that message over to Dan here, as we are live right now, guys, as we saw President Trump landing safe and sound in Florida. And then there in Philadelphia, this small plane crashing, just unbelievable. 48 hours ago, we have a tragic situation over the Potomac, and then now a small plane going down in a busy area. So this wasn't in a field, obviously, as you see there. This is some place that is densely populated in the Philadelphia region, near a mall there in the area. We're going to get more specifics as we get it here at the network. We do know that the DOT Secretary, Sean Duffy, who has had quite the job since being sworn in, is going to learn more about the FAA latest information when it comes to this flight right here. So I'm sending that over to Dan Milliken, who will be joining us here shortly. As it is about the top of the hour, breaking news out of Philadelphia, as you see there. Emergency crews on the scene. Again, no information on the amount of people that may have lost their lives, and now a second plane crash in 2 days. I know this is much different, less people most likely involved in this, but still something to cover when it comes to situations of breaking news around the country here on RSBN Live. Now, it remains unclear what led to the crash. We're told the latest crash comes just days, of course, after that horrific midair collision in D.C. that took the lives of 67 people. Again, the New York Post reporting a lot on this right now as we gain more information there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So thanks for joining us here as we take a look at that screen there in Philly. And as soon as we get one of the pilots and experts on, I'm sure they will. Okay, so it looks like I can get that other pilot as well, a buddy of mine from back in the day here. So let me see if I can give him a call, and we'll just go to him live until we line up a Zoom link with him as we're taking a look here. Flying with it right now live on RSBN. Hey Jerry, you're live right now. Is it all right to ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Jerry, thanks so much for joining us, a former pilot. First of all, sir, your thoughts about what happened on Wednesday night with the Black Hawk helicopter. I mean, that they call that a DCA, and I'm sure you've landed at DCA a lot. They call that helicopter alley. Is that true? I mean, what do you know about what happened Wednesday night in general?
Well, I know there's a lot of helicopter traffic there. There's a lot of military activity there, obviously, in the DC area. The environment there itself is extremely taxing. If I would put myself in the seat of the RJ, they were on an approach to the northerly runway. They come up the river, and then they break it off because that's the approach. The straight-in approach would be to the northerly runway. They were landing on the northwest runway, runway 33. So you break that off a few miles out, make your maneuver. And what I could see on the picture, it looked like I could see him make a right turn. It looked like he was making a right turn, and then came back and leveled off his wings. From the altitude that they collided, he would have probably been about a mile and a third from the touchdown point on the runway. But it's very taxing once you start to make that maneuver to line up with the other runway. That's called a circling maneuver, especially at night, especially in Washington with all the light pollution. It's very taxing. So they were pretty well concentrated. I'm sure that they're concentrated on their on the runway, on the target. It's a very trying time of the approach because you've got to have a quick scan with your instruments, what's going on. You're ready to set your altitude, obviously your airspeed, all that stuff properly configured. Checklist done, and that's about where they were at that point. So. The helicopter itself, I don't know why they were at that altitude. I know I had helicopters go underneath me on the approach, coming up the river before, but there was always communication. So I don't know what happened there.
So Jerry, again, if you're just joining us right now, this is Jerry, a former pilot with a major commercial airline. So do you guys, if you see a helicopter and you're flying, say you're at that helicopter alley, landing at DCA, do you and the pilot of any helicopter ever communicate? Are there logs like that? Or is it just you're talking to ATC when you're coming into a landing? And then also, if I can get you on this Philadelphia small plane crash that just happened as well, but your thoughts on, can you guys communicate between pilot to pilot, even if it's like a Black Hawk helicopter?
No, we can't. We can get, in other words, if they're on the same frequency, but this is a military aircraft. Military aircraft use UHF frequency, ultra high frequency, and we use, in commercial aviation, you use VHF frequency. So they would not be on the same frequency. So they wouldn't be able to talk to each other, but they also wouldn't be able to hear any communication from the tower or approach control to the helicopter, and the helicopter wouldn't hear any communication between the aircraft and the tower or the approach control.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have the benefit of that.
Okay,
They're on the same frequency, even though they're not talking directly. You can see what other people are doing and hear what other people are doing and pick up on that, but you couldn't.
Okay, let's shift over to Philadelphia right now. This small plane crash near a Philadelphia mall. Near a number of homes, there are fatalities we're hearing through a number of reports. However, it's 48 degrees in Philly, overcast, rainy skies, that kind of thing. It is a Learjet 55 crashed around 6:30 departing from a northeast Philadelphia airport. 6 people on board there, and then we don't know what happened to any people on the ground. Just your thoughts in general. Have you any experience in smaller aircraft, but also when it's this kind of weather? Is it kind of like a helicopter? It's kind of like a no-go zone, just maybe don't fly, or what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know the capabilities of the Lear. I'm sure I would be quite certain that they have de-icing equipment on the airplane. This is the environment right now with the moisture. Even though it's 48 degrees on the ground, it doesn't take long. With the standard what they call adiabatic lapse rate with the temperature, you could be in icing conditions, very easily. So I don't know if that played any role in it at all. It could have, but the only thing I saw on the video when I first saw it come on the air was the airplane was headed into the ground at a very rapid pace. Did it lose flight controls? I don't know, but that's the one thing. That's one thought that comes to my mind. Did it get into icing conditions? Were they using the icing equipment? I don't. And again, that's all pure speculation. Or was it an engine failure or something like that, or catastrophic mechanical failure? So at this point in time, it would be just pure speculation.
Okay, last question, Jerry. Thanks again for joining us. And for those of you joining us now, Jerry was a pilot for a major airliner, now retired, but still obviously, an expert in the aviation industry. When it comes to, did you see the video of the small plane crashing in Philadelphia? Did you see that?
That's the one I was referring to.
Okay, so
I saw that.
It came down very fast. When we've seen the unfortunate accidents of small plane crashes, usually, it's not such a. That thing looked like a heat-seeking missile of sorts, and I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying it looked like that, but it was going really, really fast. Is that something that's common with this situation?
No, that was the first comment I made to my wife. Is when we saw that. In fact, I said those exact words. It looked more like a missile. Why was it coming at that velocity? I don't know. Again, it'd be pure speculation, but it would be total loss of flight control. The angle that he was at wouldn't indicate. There was a pretty steep angle, which would build up airspeed very, very quickly. So I can't speculate on that either.
All right, Jerry, thank you again for joining us. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. All right, so just the latest there from a former pilot. As we see the bottom right of your screen, the emergency situation in Philadelphia at this point. We don't know the amount of people injured or if unfortunately killed in this situation. We don't know specifically how this happened, but we do know that the videos that are out there, this is an intense, rapid speed that this small plane went down. So it was a Learjet. So instead of one of those small Cessna planes that carry 2 people, maybe a third in the back, it was carrying 6 people. Okay, and then it looks like we'll have a guest joining us at any second now to share with us some more information on his expertise in flying. I believe who's joining is the guy named Dan Milliken. I know it has a pretty sizable following on YouTube. So as soon as we see him on the screen, we'll go to him live as he can hopefully, give us his thoughts not only about tonight's tragic incident, but that horrifying situation that happened just the other day on Wednesday night over the Potomac River. So 2 aircraft crashes, obviously one with the Black Hawk on Wednesday night. So in DC, and then if you head up north to Philadelphia, this is where the second one has happened. Okay, so we're about to, this is Dan Milliken about to join us right now. Dan Milliken, I believe he has a YouTube channel called Taking Off. So this guy, yeah, okay, he's a pilot, and he'll be sharing with us some information that he knows. Sir, how you doing? Dan, are you there? All right, doesn't look like Dan can hear us. Dan, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, then we'll go to something else if Dan doesn't hear us right now. But at the end of the day, we know it's 8:06 as we get ready to see more information about what happened in the Philadelphia area as we can go back to programming here on the monitor. And we look forward to learning more about what the heck happened in Philadelphia now, as this is the second plane crash dealing with fatalities in just 48 hours. And of course, we will bring you the latest as we get it. It looks like we also might have, he says, I can hear him. Can you guys hear me? That's what he's saying to me. I don't hear him on there, unfortunately. And if you hear me, Dan, unfortunately, the audio just not coming through at this hour as we monitor what happened there in Philly. Again, small plane crash just a few hours ago at this point, and fatalities there in Philly, not sure on the number. We do know there were 6 people in that jet that came crashing to the ground. Again, this on the heels of what just happened on Wednesday night. So we'll monitor the developments here as we get it. And if I hear any more information, we will have, I think Father Frank Pavone will be joining us here soon as well as we gather more information. Now again, we know that Sean Duffy, the Department of Transportation Secretary, is learning information as we speak. So far, he says what we've learned is a Learjet 55 crashed around 6:30 p.m., so just about an hour and a half ago after departing Northeast Philadelphia Airport. There were reportedly 6 people on board. The plane was en route to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri. The FAA and NTSB will investigate, and the Secretary Sean Duffy says he will continue to provide updates as he gets it. So that's the latest we know at this point out of Philadelphia. Earlier today, of course, President Trump, a nice safe landing there in Florida, and this all on the heels of that terrible incident on Wednesday night. Again, the flight on Wednesday coming in from Wichita, Kansas on final approach there, and somehow, some way, the Black Hawk helicopter right in the same path of the American jet, then you saw what happened there, the collision causing 67 people to lose their lives. So we are monitoring these stories here at the network, and the New York Post with the sad headline of another fatal crash as we report this after seeing that huge fireball that went down just moments ago. And let's see who we have here on the line right now. Sir, you're live right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Can I have your first name and last name, sir?
This is Dan Milliken from the Taking Off channel.
Hello, Dan. Thank you so much for joining us. Sir, your thoughts about, let's go with what's happening now in Philly. I mean, when it's that kind of weather in a small plane, I mean, it's a Learjet, so that means it's not a Cessna, correct? Can you just walk us through some of it?
Yeah, so it's a medevac, an air ambulance Learjet. It's a Learjet 55. From the video that you can see, it is horrible. It looked like it came straight down just about. I know there was a pilot, there were several physicians on board, there was a patient and a family member. Total of 6 people on board.
That's unbelievable. And then the fact that it goes down near the mall there into some residential area. I mean, can you talk to us about what could possibly make it look like a missile in ways of the speed? I mean, it went straight, I mean, it was fast, and it's something, you know, you and I, we've seen this before, unfortunately, but it's more of a slower drop, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there's a couple things that could cause this. You know, to me, that image is reminiscent of another, I think it was southeastern Pennsylvania. There was a plane that crashed a few years ago. It was a turboprop plane, a single engine, and that one went down due to icing. So I don't know, I don't want to speculate that that's what's happening here, but that's certainly something with the weather that, looking at Philadelphia right now, could absolutely be a factor.
Can you talk to us about the weather when it's 48 degrees, you know, at the ground level? Obviously it gets colder as you go higher. With Learjets, I know their ceiling isn't as high as a jumbo jet, but Do you have any idea on temperature differences, maybe for a Learjet?
Well, actually, a Learjet, traditionally the smaller private jets will actually go a little higher than the airline traffic. They'll go up to 40,000 feet.
Wow.
In domestic, the airliners will be a little bit lower than that. So yes, they'll be high. But from what I'm gathering, this plane had just taken off Philadelphia.
Yep.
And if that's the case, it didn't get very high. I mean, if it crashed that soon or that close. So the way it works, and I think you had somebody on earlier talking about this, but as you go higher, traditionally the adiabatic lapse rate, you're going to get a 2-degree drop for every 1,000 feet generally. I mean, things change and you can have differences and everything else. So if you're at 40, if you're at 48 degrees on the ground, to get to 32, you only need 8,000 feet. So freezing precip can happen really even 5-8 degrees Celsius down to minus 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. So you've got a window there. It doesn't have to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. It can be slightly warmer. And what happens with airplanes is that the moisture in the air when it's that cold, when it's near freezing, or just below freezing, the water molecules will actually still be liquid, even though they're frozen. It's like if you've ever seen the people that will freeze a bottle without shaking it or anything else of water, get it below freezing, but it still looks like water, then they'll pop it and all of a sudden, boom, it just turns to ice. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening up there, and it's called supercooled liquid droplets. SLD is what the airlines call it. And when that happens, it's the kinetic energy of the surface of the plane coming through that liquid that instantly forms as ice. And it's the worst kind of icing you can have in that situation. I'm not, again, saying that's what happened here with the Learjet. But what ends up happening is you get a totally new structure based on the ice, and you become a test pilot at that moment.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And the images of that plane coming down and the fact that there are 6 people on that jet and crashing into an area there in Philadelphia, obviously very tragic with that. And then also, let's go 48 hours ago. Let's just keep it this way. I'll just give you the 30,000 foot view. Question is, what do you think happened there when it comes to the American Airlines plane coming into DCA on final approach, and then the Black Hawk helicopter there, and then colliding like that? I mean, in all your experience with aviation and being a pilot, what's your take on that?
Well, again, I don't want to speculate. I want to just go off of what we know. What we do know is that the Black Hawk pilot was told by the tower at DCA at Washington Reagan to do you have visual on the CRJ, which they did say they did. And then as they got even closer, the tower confirmed that they had a visual, and to maintain visual separation. When they do that, when you are given a visual, maintain visual separation, it's up to the pilot then to maintain visual separation. And you know that I'm sure everybody's heard that the helicopter was not supposed to go above 200 feet above the Potomac at that point in the route, and they collided at just under 400 feet. So they were well over their minimum there. There were other traffic, and I recently actually added my helicopter license to my airplane, my pilot's license, and we had to do night flights. When you're flying in the night, I did Dallas, Texas. When you're flying, the lights, it's really difficult to make stuff out. Add to that, the Black Hawk, those guys were using night vision goggles, so it cuts down on your peripheral and everything else. And there's 2 pilots, so they're scanning and looking and watching. But there was other traffic, and it's certainly possible that the Black Hawk, when they said that they saw the CRJ, it's possible they saw a different plane, and that was what they were looking at the whole time. The other thing is when you're moving at night, you can get in an angle where the lights don't move, and then it just blends into the city lights. When you're in a collision course, the other one's not going to move, left or right or up or down. Really, it may grow a little bit bigger, but it's really hard to see that in the ground clutter. To me, I just don't know why. And I've talked to airline pilots that regularly fly into DCA. I don't know why they need to have military training routes right there on final approach, on short final.
Yeah,
I think, of course, the FAA came out today saying, we're going to stop that right now.
Yeah, I mean, they were calling it Helicopter Alley. I never heard of that. Have you heard of that right over the Potomac there?
I have not heard of that, but in every major metropolitan area, there are helicopter routes. The helicopters have their own map. Like for us pilots, we have what's called, the FAA provides, called a sectional, and it gives us all the different airspaces, all the at different altitudes, and the requirements, and all the airports around and everything else. That's the map we get. The helicopters have an even different one, and it will have the helicopter routes and everything else. The helicopters operate very, very low. If you're flying, the max altitude is 200 feet. That's incredibly low. And for fixed wing pilots, we're very uncomfortable at 200 feet. So, it's two different worlds: the helicopters and the fixed wing airplanes.
I can imagine. Sir, can you give us your first name and last name? I know it's Dan. We just met literally right now on Zoom through another pilot. And can you tell us about this YouTube channel of yours and your followers on there, and what that channel is all about, and go ahead and share with us where we can find all that.
Well, I appreciate that. The channel is taking off, and you can check us out there. We do a lot of news like this. We do a lot of investigation coverages. We also do fly with me videos, and a lot of stuff that's a lot of content that's for pilots and aviation enthusiasts. So we have an aviation talk show. We have a whole bunch of different things there on the Taking Off channel on YouTube.
All right, sir. Thank you again for joining us, Dan, from Texas, and would like to have you on again. Hopefully not have you on again for any of this kind of coverage, but thank you for your...
Can I add one thing about Philadelphia?
Go ahead.
Because you mentioned what are some different possibilities for why it came down so sharp. And I'd mentioned icing. One other thing is that you see a lot, and again, I'm not saying it's the case here, is spatial disorientation. So, and this happens when you are lower like this. You get in the clouds, up is down, left is right. You can get disoriented. Your body will tell you different things. Pilots are trained to trust their instruments and go with the instruments, but for whatever reason, whether it's the pilot not looking at the instruments or the instruments not reading correctly or whatever, you can have a situation where it'll be spatially disoriented, and that's when you can see things come down. And then there's other things too. There was a big crash of a 767 in Houston a couple of years ago, and that one came down just like this one did, and that was a totally different situation. It was one where the first officer hit the go around button. He didn't know it, and again, for spatial disorientation, when you go a sudden acceleration, it feels like your body tells you you're going up. So what do? You push the stick down because you feel like you're going up, and that's what happened in this Atlas 767 crash. Is he thought he was going up, but he wasn't, and so he pushed the stick down. They were at 6,000 feet, and by the time he cleared the clouds, they couldn't pull out of it.
That's amazing insight there. Tragic insight, but at the end of the day, how many years experience do you have as a pilot? What kind of planes have you flown before? And then you also fly helicopters.
Well, I'm a general aviation pilot, so I'm not an airline ATP rated pilot is what they call it. But our co-host that we have on the channel is, we're around it a lot, but I fly the smaller airplanes and now helicopters. But I do it more, I actually run a TV and film production company, and so I fly a plane and fly the crew around the country to different shoots. That's how I got into aviation.
Wow.
So,
Quite the job there. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, says it's a Learjet 55 crashed around 6:30 p.m. after departing from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. So what in the world can have something like that happen? I mean, you're taking off and then you come down that quickly. I mean, we talked about it a little bit about the temperature difference. You said, so is it 8,000 feet off the ground can bring you from 48 degrees to about 32? Is that what you were saying?
Generally, there are so many different variables. That's just a generalization. And I do want to stress, like, I just given 3 possible things of, hitting the wrong button and getting spatially disoriented, or regular spatial disorientation, or icing. There are so many. It could have been engine failure. It could have been, all sorts of things that lead to that. So and that's why it's really hard to speculate, but these are all different possibilities. It's what the investigators will be looking at. They'll be looking at, was there a problem with the airplane? Was there a mechanical issue? Was there a problem with the instruments? They'll look at what was the weather conditions at the time. These are all things that they'll take into account, and we just don't know. On the Lear 55, it's an older plane. It's it might have some kind of flight data recorder. It might have cockpit voice. Some medevacs companies will do that for their operations. And there was a recent medevac, a King Air 90 crash out of Hawaii, and in that one, it was an older airplane. They still had like a video recorder that videoed the whole thing, and so the investigators, when they recovered that, were able to piece together what had happened. So we don't know what's on this Lear 55, but they've stopped making Lears. The company was bought by Bombardier. And they actually discontinued the Lear about 2.5, 3 years ago.
And Dan, if you could just hold on for a second here. If you're just joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network, we're covering this breaking news out of Philadelphia. A Lear jet carrying 6 people has gone down in Philly, and you can see some of the smoke from some of the residential area there. Dan, joining us on the line, again, Taking Off is the page that he has on YouTube. I've been in a smaller Cessna before. I remember working at one of my first stations in Colorado. We flew over the Colorado National Monument, and I remember the camera guy was in the passenger seat to the right and the pilot to the left, and I was sitting in the back, and man, that plane just you could feel it going back and forth a little bit while you're flying, and it's some scary stuff in my opinion. But for you as a pilot of a smaller plane, and for some of these Lear jets, is it... Obviously, it's the training, but how much is it the reading your gut, your intuition on making decisions? And then also, do you, specifically in Texas there and around the country, if you know there's going to be storms, do you even take off, or do you just go around them? What do you do?
Right. Okay, so first of all, I would never trust your gut. In flying, you just can't do that. You have to look at the data. You have to look at the hardcore numbers. And pilots create minimums for themselves, minimums in the weather, minimums, all these different things, and a good pilot will do that. And if any of the minimums are met, then it's a no-go. You scrub. And even if the company is pushing you or whatever, you just don't go when it's past your personal minimums. I have a saying that superior judgment trumps superior skills. And I say that to myself because one time I got myself into a little bit of trouble flying, and I was like, I'm super pilot, I'm Han Solo, whatever. And I really put myself in a bad situation because of my bad judgment, my poor judgment. And I was relying on superior skills to get me out of it, and that's a really bad thing to be into. So good pilots as a whole will have their own personal minimums. And, but now I say that air ambulance is a different thing. Those guys will have lower minimums. They have to go a lot of times and will go, but every good pilot will have minimums. It's up to the individual to kind of figure out where they're at. Now, the FAA also has minimums. They have minimum types of equipment you can fly with. They have minimum fuel reserves that you're allowed to take off with. They have a whole list of stuff that they have their minimums. But at some point, a pilot has to create their own that may, be, more conservative than what the FAA is requiring. And, some of us pilots have what we call the 3 strike rules. And so if you just have like a problem, maybe it's not it's not scrubbing the flight, but it's just a problem to be aware of, maybe a little bit of weather or something like that. That's one thing. And maybe you go, it's not past my minimums, I'm still going to fly. But then you add to that, oh, I've got an instrument that is inoperable. Okay, I can still, maybe by the rules, I can still take off with it, but now that's strike two. And maybe I'm feeling sick this day and I've taken a little bit of, I don't know, Sudafed or whatever. Well, that would be strike three. And, a lot of pilots have these 3 strike rules. Well, okay, we're not flying. And I have not flown because of weather. I've landed and waited weather out. We've all, most of us pilots have done that. You never want to go with your gut. You never want to cowboy it through the sky, because then really bad things happen.
Yeah, and we see, the 2 tragedies that just happened within 48 hours of each other. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll have you on again, hopefully just to talk more a little bit about small aircraft and any of your other expertise. Again, Taking Off is the show that you can find Dan on YouTube. Sir, again, thank you so much for joining us on RSBN Live.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the latest report that we're seeing out of Philadelphia right now is from some of the local affiliates there in Philadelphia. Multiple casualties have been reported after a small plane crashed in a residential neighborhood northeast of Philadelphia. This according to the local ABC station. So it happened near Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard just after 6 p.m. tonight. The FAA saying the Learjet 55 departed from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. They were en route to Branson National Airport in Missouri when it went down. So obviously just taking off in the Philadelphia region and then going down there, as you guys saw in some of the videos that are out there, in lightning speed, crashing to the earth. As we take a look at the programming monitor here, live in Philadelphia right now, as you can see, various media getting ready to see if there's any press conferences that will happen in Philadelphia, and also any more details that we get. Again, according to the FAA, this was a Learjet 55. There were 6 people on board. Police say this plane was on a medical assignment. Thanks to our RSBN host, Robert McNeely, for sending in this article as well. Again, there were reportedly 6 people on board, according to our Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who, as you guys know, has had quite the busy schedule when it comes to tragic moments in our country since the Wednesday collision between the Black Hawk helicopter and the the American Airlines jet. Of course, there were some questions surrounding what happened there. That's obviously under investigation. President Trump speaking about it as well on Truth Social and at various press conferences, wondering how something like that could happen. How could a helicopter be in the line of where the airplane is landing there at the final approach in Washington, D.C. And then tonight, the small plane that goes down, where 6 people were on a medical mission on this plane going to Branson, Missouri, and somehow goes crashing down into the earth. There are people near that mall in this residential neighborhood, and we don't know the extent of any injuries or worse on the ground there in Philadelphia. This is live coverage at the bottom of the hour. Matthew Alvarez here sharing this information with you as I get it. The FAA had initially reported there were 2 people on board. The agency did not have any update on their condition. As you're seeing on the left side of your screen there, this is a massive fireball scene right there on the left side of your screen. That is quite intense with the speed of that small plane that went down and crashed there. 6 people on board simply trying to do a medical mission out in Missouri, and for some reason that is how things wound up there. We don't know if specifically right at that spot is where the residential community is. We did see a little bit of smoke in the vicinity there, so we don't have any reports yet at the network if there are any injuries or worse in Philadelphia. This is just northeast of the city. Again, a lot of aviation news and aviation tragic moments happening. And at the end of the day, we know that unfortunately Sometimes the small Cessna planes, they go down, and it's a terrible, terrible death, and it's horrible. And this happens across the country in various states. But this here was a Learjet carrying 6 people and going down in a busy residential and commercial shopping area near the mall there in Philadelphia, again, just northeast of the city of brotherly love. We're hearing also from the local ABC affiliate, someone saying, quote, "It was just horrific. I was just driving down the street coming to Wendy's, and I just saw a plane basically hit the building and it exploded. The sky lit up, and I pulled over, and basically it was just a real bad thing around here," said one witness, who described the incident as, quote, "earthquake-ish. It lit up the whole sky," he added. We're told a large fire burned in the wake of the crash, prompting a significant response. Vehicles could also were seen on fire. There is a photo pretty close. Okay, we're hearing that a press conference is forthcoming. We'll have that for you here in Philadelphia as soon as we hear that is happening. Now, there is a photo that the Associated Press has from the scene there. And what I'm seeing are a number of row homes, and on the one side of the row homes, a huge flame there, a photo taken at that moment as this plane went down at severe fast speed. We saw various videos online of that happening. And then, of course, just moments ago, if you missed it, there was that huge fireball there in Philadelphia. Again, a small plane going down around 6:30 northeast of Philadelphia. We're awaiting a press briefing from the local officials there in Philadelphia to let us know what possibly could have happened there as they open up another investigation. When I say another, I just mean generally speaking, as the aviation world right now obviously was on edge because of what happened the other day, this small plane crash here. However, outside of the framework of all of this, the president being asked the other day at the press conference, is it safe to fly? Of course, he's saying, yes, it is, as he's signing executive orders to ramp up the FAA to put people that know what the heck they're doing in there. But also, we don't know the specific details of what went down in the Potomac River there, because again, the helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter, this is facts here, it was on video seen hovering right in the line of where the American Airlines jet was coming in. Who knows what caused all of that to happen, but we do know that a total of 67 people lost their lives on Wednesday. We do know 6 more people have lost their lives in a small plane crash here in Philadelphia, without knowing any numbers, if any, lost their lives or were injured on the ground. As again, this wasn't an open field that this plane went down in. This was a residential area there in Philadelphia. I'm hearing about 10 to 11 minutes from now from our producer that there will be a press conference happening. We'll have that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we are live here on this Friday night, January 31st. We heard from a number of aviation experts earlier talking about the difference in temperature just by 8,000 feet. So it's about 48 degrees in Philadelphia right now, and not obviously snowing at that temperature. But if you go 8,000 feet up into the air, that's where the ice could be forming as well, because it's around 32. That's a general rule of thumb according to the last aviation expert that we had on here at the network. So quite the night here. Some of us heard about this small plane crash that went down near a Philadelphia mall. Well, this is the coverage that's happening there. You can see a lot of emergency personnel there. We'll hear more details as soon as the press conference starts right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as you take a live look at where that press conference will happen. Again, this is sad and tragic times right now in Philadelphia, and of course people mourning the loss of the 67 people that passed away on Wednesday night in Virginia, which is right on the border there of the District of Columbia, as that plane there, the American Airlines plane on Wednesday, flying from Wichita down to Reagan Airport on that final approach to runway 33, and somehow, some way, the Black Hawk helicopter, which the ceiling for them was supposed to be at 200 feet. Well, they were up at around 400, we're told, so much higher than they were supposed to be. But at the end of the day, who knows what happened there? We hear a lot of different speculation about it, but that's common sense. You know, you wonder, like, how can people that are in a pilot position inside of a helicopter or you know, in the jet, you know, how could something like this happen? So let's go to Philadelphia right now. I think they're getting ready for this press conference.
Let me start by thanking each of you for being here. I want to go through some basic facts about what we know for certain right now. An aircraft went down in the vicinity of Roosevelt Mall on Cottman Avenue. This occurred shortly after 6 p.m. this evening. As of right now, we have no reports on the number of fatalities. So right now we're just asking for prayers for any and everyone who may have been affected. We do want to note that several dwellings and vehicles were impacted. So what are we asking you to do for us right now, Philadelphia? We're urging you to please stay away from the scene. If you see debris, call 911. Don't touch anything. This is still an active scene under investigation. I'm proud to note that all of our federal and state partners, they are either en route here or on the ground with us right now. We did see some neighbors who live in the surrounding community. Just stay in your home. Again, it's still an active scene and it's under investigation. This is only the first of many briefings, I'm sure, to come on this evening. And of course, when daylight comes, when we have more facts and information to share with you. But I do want to say a special thank you right now, again, to all of our federal and state partners and our amazing first responders right here in the city of Philadelphia. Our fire, our EMS, our police department, they have been here working vigorously to ensure that we get this perimeter and the surrounding area blocked off to ensure that we make public safety and health our #1 priority. So we don't have any further information to share at this time. I've spoken to our Governor Josh Shapiro. He is en route. I've spoken to our U.S. Senator John Fetterman, other federal officials, and everyone, all hands on deck. That's where we are right now. Thank you so very much, and we'll have more information to report in the near future.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so what we learned there, that this happened right after 6 p.m. near the Roosevelt Mall. So I'm going to check real quick how far that is exactly from the center of the city of Philadelphia here on the maps. But I can tell you, you know, we're seeing a lot of reports that it was 6 people on that Learjet. The spokesperson there, I believe possibly the mayor of the city, saying they didn't confirm any numbers, but we can go to the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who says 6 people were on board that Learjet that crashed in Philadelphia. Local reports reveal that they were simply on a medical mission on their way to Branson, Missouri, and somehow, some way, that plane came crashing down and at lightning speed. This wasn't a slow kind of losing, you know, control. I mean, this was a straight shot right down to the earth, and it was very tragic to see, and also the fireball that ensued after that. As we are seeing, one of the local affiliates there as they get ready to go live in the Philadelphia region. So again, I'm going to type in Roosevelt Mall. This was the Roosevelt Mall northeast of the city of Philadelphia. So I'll double check here how far that is from the center of the city. It actually is, just to the northeast of the city. So if you're looking at a place like Independence Hall, or let's go to the Franklin Institute or the Reading Terminal Market. How about Philadelphia City Hall? The distance between the Roosevelt Mall there is probably about 20 miles. And I'll just double check that here just to get our bearings on where exactly we're talking. It looks like about 15 to 20 minute drive with no traffic there. So this definitely near Elkins Park. Now I can tell you that the Roosevelt Mall is literally maybe a 10-minute drive from the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. So this is not the main airport in Philadelphia. This is the PNE are the call letters there in Philly. So it's the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. So that plane takes off, and moments later, as it's ascending into the sky, for some reason, starts that rapid drop, and then we see some of the video around social media where it just crashes straight to the ground, causing most likely the death of 6 people. This, again, on the heels of 67 the other day, as we are monitoring this breaking news here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez as we bring you some sad news tonight, but it's still what's happening out there in the country that we cover here at the network, and just definitely difficult to see this. I was on the broadcast earlier today with Robert McNeely, our RSBN host as well, and we were talking about Wednesday night and still the impact of that for the people that were lost in that situation that was so tragic. But how did it happen? Why was it that it happened the way it did? This is something that usually helicopters fly, usually maybe underneath where an airplane would. That's why that's that 200-foot ceiling for the helicopters. Well, this helicopter, we're told, was upwards of 400 feet and kind of in the way. This is, we're talking about Wednesday night. Somehow it just collided like that. So we're going to see what happened there as we get that information. You're looking at the map there in Philadelphia as well. The Roosevelt Mall, you're seeing pretty close to a ball field there as well. Looks like a Abraham Lincoln High School just to the right. Nazareth Hospital to the northeast. And again, if you look at the airport is not far at all from this location. So I want to get the specifics on that right now to see how far the airport is from that mall there. So the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. Then we go to the Roosevelt Mall. So I'm typing all that in here. Just want to get that the bearings of that right here as we are live. Okay. So it looks like it's not too far at all when it comes to the differences of space here. Again, the aircraft takes off around 6 o'clock. It then crashes just a few minutes later. We're told that this was a Learjet 55 on the way to Branson, Missouri, and 6 people were on board for a medical flight, apparently going to Branson, Missouri to help someone out or help people out. And somehow it went down. So we're monitoring the latest here. If there's any more press conferences, we can bring that to you live. As you see again, if you're just joining us, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, saying, here's what we've learned thus far. You can read that on your screen of what happened there. And the fact is, a very busy time for Secretary Sean Duffy as he will figure out more details and let us know about them as more tragic news when it comes to aviation, specifically here tonight. And of course, we still have no idea what happened there on the flight in the Potomac River. I did see a video earlier tonight on social media where there was I'm not sure which airport it was, could have been DCA. Obviously the flights are taking off there again. And the pilot basically said, it is my mission just to professionally and courteously, get you from point A to point B safely. So it definitely has, shaken the industry a bit, but still at the end of the day, we know that air travel overall has been so safe for so many years in our country. So obviously some tough times here, very difficult times as we learn who exactly was on this plane. We know that there was a medical staff of about 6 people, but who were the names? Who are these people? And the same thing with the situation from the other night on Wednesday. Who were the 67 people? There are some names that are coming out here and there, but it's just a really tough time with this breaking news that's happening here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, I've been trying to figure out the specific mileage from the airport to the mall. For some reason, the laptop is not working right now with that. So what I'll do is I'll try it on my phone right here on the fly, because I just want to know specifically, just out of the investigation side of things, how far was the Roosevelt Mall to the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. So I want to get that real quick, as this just happened at 6 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, finally got it here. It's 4.3 miles. If you were to drive, it's about 13 minutes. So only 4 miles. Only 4 miles from the airport, this Learjet comes crashing down. And again, it's not like, how when you fly sometimes you have the de-icing situation that happens, and you sit there, maybe you get out of the gate, but 2 minutes later you have to pull over in the plane, and you sit there and you see the de-icing machines, all that stuff hits the window and all that. Well, it's 48 degrees and not icy in Philadelphia right now. So, that might roll out at the end of the day, an icing situation, because if it's nearly 50 degrees and cloudy and rainy, taking off and you're crashing 4 miles later, how much elevation can you really get? Can you get to 8,000 feet? And that's a question I should have asked the aviation expert before, because he did say at about 8,000 feet, the temperature can get up to about that freezing mark at 32 degrees. But can ice form that quickly? I don't know, when you're up there that cold, but maybe it can. Who knows if it has anything to do with weather, though, because when it comes to icing, now we do know the clouds and the rain were happening there. So maybe that had something to do with it. Who knows? Obviously, I am not an NTSB worker, of course. I am just reporting what I see and my experience in covering various tragedies similar to this, unfortunately, just to see how this could happen. And that's, again, I don't like to just report it and then that's it. I want to know how it happens, just like President Trump did the other day when it came to the Black Hawk helicopter and the American Airlines plane that collided on Wednesday night, just some 48 hours ago. And to be honest with you, exactly 48 hours and 1 minute ago, that happened over the Potomac. As you see the time, 8:49 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Well, this happened at 8:48 Eastern on Wednesday. So a tragic time for our country right now as we move forward and hope to see nothing like this happen again. But I know that unfortunately, with sometimes with smaller planes, it's tough. But we're seeing that again, that this was a 13-minute drive from the airport where this plane went down. So the airport again is the Northeast Philadelphia Airport, and then also it was only almost 4.5 miles from the location there. So we'll bring you the latest as we get it here at the network. And if we have any other videos showing the area there where the plane went down, because the other part of this story right now, as we're watching this in real time, is what happened to the homes, what happened to the row homes that are right there. Did it crash right on top of those? Was it on the other side of it? Obviously not being there to see it myself, we can only tell from just some various pictures that are being posted by various local media outlets. But again, this happened around 6 o'clock, so about 2 hours and 50 minutes ago on the East Coast. This is RSBN Live as we bring in more information as we get it here. We do know earlier we showed a visual of when the plane was just hitting the ground and the fire happening there. Of course, a tragic moment in Philadelphia as we figure out what happened. All right, so it's about 10 minutes to 9 o'clock. Not sure at this point what time the next press conference will be. Of course, you can always stay up to date on X and on our Truth Social page and on our website for various stories that happen around the country, including, of course, various stories about Washington, D.C. and the White House as we cover our great president, who earlier today on this broadcast stream landed safely there in Florida, and we had that split screen with him landing, and then of course this Philadelphia situation as we cover various angles here at the network just in real time, and we just want to bring you this latest news as we get it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Producer, do we have any other video or any information on press conferences coming up here in Philadelphia? Okay, so right now we do see from the New York Post, again, a fireball erupts after small medevac jet crashes in dense Philadelphia neighborhood. That, according to the Post, New York Post. So a medevac jet has crashed. That's the one that happened there at 6 o'clock. So what we're looking at is that there are multiple casualties reported, according to the Post here. They work in conjunction with local affiliates out there. So when it comes to this kind of news, when it comes to breaking news, citing other sources, when it comes to these kind of specifics, I feel very comfortable doing that. But you have to remember, we also still filter what is being said, because sometimes someone could think it's something that is over here that happened, but it actually happened over here, if you know what I mean. You have to still stick to the facts. But when it comes to a situation like this, it's safe to say, because also the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, has said on his X account, quote, "Here is what we've learned thus far. A Learjet 55 crashed around 6:30 p.m. after departing the Northeast Philadelphia airport." As you see that on your screen there, there were reportedly 6 people on board the plane en route to Branson, Missouri, and the FAA and NTSB will investigate. The Secretary of Transportation, Duffy, there will bring us the latest as we get it here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Definitely something that's trending all over the place right now when it comes to various situations throughout our country, and specifically this plane crash in Philadelphia. So again, on the heels of the tragedy from just the other night, as we look at some more details out of Philadelphia right now. Again, 6 people may have lost their lives right there in the city there, just northeast of Philadelphia. As I get to the Secretary of Transportation here, Sean Duffy's page, you see the latest update there. That was at 7:49, so about an hour ago. Looking for that page right here on the fly as we speak, so we can just get the latest information to you. Secretary of Transportation, and we'll go to that here in just a second. So again, that is the latest post that we're seeing there, just posted just some time ago, as we await any more press conferences after this tragic event in Philadelphia. Once again, this is RSBN Live. Thank you for streaming in with us, but obviously some sad news to report there. The latest we know, again, a medevac jet. These were people that were on a medical staff, 6 people on a Learjet flying from Philly going to Branson, Missouri. We don't know the names of the people. We don't know if there are any injuries or anything worse on the ground. We do know it crashed at a high speed into the residential area. Did it crash near a parking lot of an apartment building? We don't know. Did it crash into the building? Are there more casualties? We don't know, but we are just reporting as we get the information here on the network. Okay, so we have a report here coming in right now. According to the Fox Group there, a plane crashes into Philadelphia, igniting inferno near homes and the mall there. As you see the camera person just looking at the area in Philly where this happened. The medical plane transporting a pediatric patient crashed on a street near the Roosevelt Mall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A Learjet, of course, we heard that from the Secretary of Transportation, crashed at around 6:30. The FAA said 2 people were on board. So we're hearing conflicting reports at this point that there were 6 or there were 2. The plane was en route again to Branson, Missouri. The Philadelphia mayor, Sherelle Parker, held that press conference that we saw here live on RSBN. She said she was unable to confirm the number of fatalities. She asked for prayers. Don't touch anything, Parker said. She said if anyone near the scene comes across debris, just call 911. A medical oxygen tank, we're told, was seen on the ground outside of McDonald's near the scene of the crash. A police commander told the local Fox affiliate. So when you see this video here, this is where the fireball happens, right near the Roosevelt Mall. And we're citing Fox 29, who distributed this out to various Fox outlets. But at the end of the day, that tragic video right there from around 6:30, again, about 4 miles from the Northeast Philadelphia airport, this plane on its way, a medevac plane on its way to Branson with a pediatric patient on board. A tragedy in Philadelphia tonight, as you see that live footage on the right side of your screen, and then some of the footage of the right after the aftermath of that crash. It looks like there are near the scene, a police commander told the Fox 29 reporter that there are pieces everywhere, so of the plane and of other debris. Again, they're looking right now, I'm sure. See, obviously, if you know anything about when it comes to reporting the news at these actual breaking news scenes, obviously the press is going to be held way back. And so the reason why they can even see as close as they are is not because they're standing right behind that vehicle, most likely. It's that zoom of that lens that's all the way into that scene right there. Or if that is a camera person right there in the middle of your screen, that's as far as they usually would let you. Obviously, they're not going to let you near the crash site. And we don't know, again, how many injuries, if any, or any more casualties, because it did crash into a dense neighborhood. See how the top right corner, how they zoomed out. They just, with these great cameras, they can zoom all the way into these different vantage points as we are learning more about what happened. So the city of Philadelphia posted on X, again, according to Fox 29 and Fox News here, calling the incident major. Major incident near Cotman and Bustleton Avenues in Northeast Philadelphia, across from the Roosevelt Mall. Roads closed in the area, including parts of Roosevelt Boulevard, and this is all part of that scene right there. Crews are battling multiple house and car fires resulting from the crash. So there is a confirmation that there are a number of house and car fires, according to officials, speaking to local reporters on the scene there. And when I say local reporters, I don't mean locally just geographically, but the ones that just do cover that area in the Philadelphia market, which is the 4th market in the country in size. Of course, it's New York, LA, Chicago, then Philadelphia. So a very large TV market. Millions and millions of people, of course, live in the Philadelphia area there. And then specifically hearing that there are houses or residential dwellings on fire and cars on fire there. The U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, of course, posted on X that he's monitoring the crash and headed to the FAA to get more information. And that Federal Aviation Administration, I believe, is right there, right in the center of Washington, D.C. as well. Okay, we're also hearing that from Fox that President Trump has been briefed on this plane crash in Philadelphia as we continue to see various reports happening. Again, President Trump is aware of the situation there in Philadelphia, having just left Joint Base Andrews around 5:30, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Actually, that was more like, more around 5:15, flying from the D.C. region down to Florida, at which time around 6:30 or 6, we're hearing conflicting reports on it, specifically if it was 6 or 6:30, this Learjet is taking off from Philadelphia and on its way to Branson, but in 4.3 miles, literally, if you look on the GPS on your, whether it's your Apple Maps or Google Maps or whatever map you're using, It is 4.3 miles from the Roosevelt Mall where this plane went down near the mall to that Northeast Philadelphia airport. So again, you think about it, the planes, they travel at quite a speed. So 4 miles is nothing for a plane to get to. So apparently this plane goes right up and somehow goes right down. And if you've seen any of the video, it is a very quick, almost like lightning, it going down at that high rate of speed. So obviously something terrible went wrong, but what we're looking at is what the investigation will show us, any details, whether it's weather related. We do know that it was raining around the time, that it's been cloudy. It was 48 degrees at the time of this crash. And again, if you're just joining us, an aviation expert joined us earlier, and he said if you go about 8,000 feet up into the air, if it's 48 degrees on the ground, that'll be about the freezing mark. Having traveled myself before in many planes across either this country or the world, I just want to share this aspect of it because of just how paint the picture in context. I remember flying, we were doing a trip from all the way to London, and then London down through to Australia back in the day on a trip. And when we went from London we were over Russia, the skies of Russia. You know how it shows the map on there? Well, we were flying over it, and below, it said Moscow. It said negative 85 degrees was the outside temperature at that 30,000 foot view. So we see at 8,000 feet that it was about 32 degrees if that plane even got to 8,000 feet. I mean, it went down 4 miles from the airport, but you see on the various videos out there that this plane was going down and going down fast. And obviously a tragedy here in Philadelphia tonight, just 48 hours ago, dealing with what we just saw the other day. So in the Potomac River, of course, losing 67 people that day, somehow with a situation that still has many questions around it for the helicopter there and the American Airlines plane on Wednesday. So again, Secretary Duffy saying 6 people are on board on that Learjet 55. We're hearing that it was a medevac, more of a medical mission of sorts. Fox reporting that there was a pediatric patient on board, and just some prayers right now for the loved ones that have perished tonight, and also prayers to the souls that were lost, the people that were lost on Wednesday night as well. So just pray for God's presence and his great love that could be poured out on people, especially when you lose someone close to you, as many of us might have in our lives. And we see this tragic event happening in Philadelphia as we await to see if any more information comes out from the situation. Let's see here. I'm getting some more information from Dan right now, a guy that just joined us that has it's called Taking Off, is the YouTube channel, Dan Milliken. He was on the broadcast a little bit earlier. He says, by the way, just got some new info on the Learjet crash. He said it happened, quote, right after takeoff. They only reached approximately 1,275 feet of altitude. The plane has a Mexico registration. Tail number is XAUCI, means registered in Mexico. This data is from Flight Radar 24. So let's repeat that information. We did see that was the case where it's only 4 miles from the airport. So now we know that they weren't even up to that altitude of that 8,000 feet where it would have been around that 32-degree mark. So this really, there's really no way at this point, unless there's some other thing we're missing, that this had anything to do with ice. Again, it's 48 degrees at last check in Philadelphia. So that was about an hour ago that I checked the temperature. So it's 48 degrees, it's cloudy, it's overcast. They only got to 1,275 feet in the air, and then somehow the plane went straight down. Again, the data from Flight Radar 24, that Dan Milliken, again, from Taking Off, which is a channel on YouTube. We had him join us earlier. As we look for Father Frank Pavone maybe joining us as well to talk about this tragedy, as he, of course, was out there at the inauguration and the March for Life, which was a wonderful event in Washington, D.C., but Obviously, a very sad situation here in the city of brotherly love, as we're hearing again that the Secretary Duffy there says 6 people were on board. He says reportedly on the X account. So when someone says, of course, reportedly, that isn't fact yet. But if you were to say 6 at this point, if you were to post that, you would lean to the fact, of course, being the Secretary of Transportation, that he knows the exact number on there. But he did say, again, it was reportedly. And that's something that we use in the media as well. As you guys have heard, you hear the word allegedly or reportedly. It's because we haven't heard the specific fact yet from the boots on the ground, from the first responders, from police or local fire. And the firefighters in Philadelphia have quite the job at hand right now, because we're told and we're confirming through the local affiliate out there that there were some cars and residences on fire there because of this small plane that went down just about, at this point now, 2.5 hours ago, or possibly 3 hours ago. So again, conflicting reports, whether it was 6 or 6:30, but still we are hearing again from Flight Radar 24, Dan Melican sending this in to us. He was on the broadcast earlier sharing with us his thoughts about the specifics of smaller planes, and he also is a pilot that has a license to fly small planes. He said he got the new info from the Learjet crash. We're told it happened right after takeoff. They only reached approximately 1,275 feet. Okay, so we might have some more reports coming in right now. The plane crashes in Philadelphia, igniting the inferno. I believe this is the latest report that we're seeing, an update here. So it does look like the plane crashed, again, excuse me, right near some residences in that area. This is near the Roosevelt Mall. The Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, excuse me, the company operating the plane. So it's called Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. The company operating the plane said its Learjet 55 crashed while departing the Northeast Airport in Philadelphia around 6:30. The company said there were 4 crew members and 2 passengers, a pediatric patient and an escort on the plane for that pediatric patient, and that the Federal Aviation Administration confirmed there were 6 people on the plane. So Secretary Sean Duffy, even though he says reportedly on his X post, it is confirmed now by this by both the FAA and the Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. They were on their way to Branson, Missouri. Not sure on the specifics of the medical condition or the emergency there. But again, 4 crew members and 2 passengers. So these crew members not only are pilots, of course, but are nursing or doctor or medical staff that was trying to help someone, a pediatric patient, and someone was there with the patient who knew the patient when the plane went down. So obviously tragic news to report here. Our immediate concern, we're told, from the Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, in a statement, is our immediate concern is for the patient's family, our personnel, their families, and other victims that may have been hurt on the ground. The company said no names will be released until family members have been notified. And again, the Philadelphia mayor saying she was unable to confirm the number of fatalities, most likely because she may have heard that there were 6 on the plane, but has anything happened to people on the ground? We do not know at this point. The mayor also saying, don't touch anything. She says, if anyone near the scene comes across debris, call 911. That's the Philadelphia mayor, Sherelle Parker. And when we report on information like this, if it's not from our network here at Right Side, we will give credit to where credit's due when you get information. That coming from Fox 29, the local affiliate in Philadelphia. And then, of course, Fox News under the same umbrella there with Fox 29, as Fox is an O&O with the Fox Corporation. So anyway, so we're hearing those statistics there. Very sad situation there as we await more information. And we see the president saying so sad to see the plane go down in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. More innocent souls lost. Our people are totally engaged. First responders are already being given credit for doing a great job. More to follow. God bless you all. And that's one thing we love about the president. Always on top of things, seeing things, getting briefed, quick to respond, quick to share his thoughts, his message, his information that he knows, and then ending the same thing that he said on Wednesday night when he was saying it was a terrible night with what happened there over the Potomac, using God bless you all and saying the same quote there to all of us. God bless you all, and God bless you, sir, President Trump. As we know that we need God on all times, whether it's terrible times or great times, boy, do we need God every day. Every day. We love God so much, and he loves us so much, and that's always good to have that realization. So for some reason tonight, a tragedy happened in Philadelphia. 6 people have lost their lives, and we are monitoring any more developments as we get it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. If there are any more press conferences, we will bring that to you. If we get any more details from the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, we will bring that to you. Also, you see President Trump saying more to follow. So again, we'll bring it as we get it here at RSBN, as it is 9:12 Eastern Time on January 31st. This, the 11th day of President Donald J. Trump's administration, saying earlier that he was flying to the winter White House down in Mar-a-Lago, saying it's going to be a working weekend in Florida as well. So, of course, he'll be back at it for Monday in D.C., but still can do the same job at Mar-a-Lago as he could in D.C. He could still sign executive orders. He could still make things happen, great things for our country. And of course, as you see, the focus there on a small plane crash in Philadelphia, making that comment on Truth Social just a few minutes ago. Again, 6 people, 4 crew, the patient, a pediatric patient, with someone that patient knew alongside them. Somehow, after taking off at the airport around 6 o'clock Eastern Time at the Northeast Philadelphia Airport, only got to about 1,275 feet, according to Flight Radar 24 and other aviation sources. One of them that was just on the network here, Tim Melican, and we're grateful to know the specifics because, again, we want to know how things like this happen, specifically on Wednesday night as well. So a lot of tragic times right now for the aviation industry. As you see, President Trump again saying, so sad to see the plane go down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was near, again, the Roosevelt Mall in Northeast Philly, not too far from the center of Philadelphia. A very densely packed area in the sense of residential and commercial buildings. We don't know any specifics of the ground situation when it comes to any injuries or anything worse than that. So as soon as we get that information, we'll bring that to you, as it's 9:14 p.m. Eastern Time here in Alabama. It's actually 8:14 Central Time here, just on the East and Central Time Zone border, not too far from this spot. But we do know that President Trump saying that obviously a sad situation there, and God bless you all. So if you're just joining us right now, obviously a fluid situation here, breaking news of just about a couple hours ago when this plane that was taking off, a Learjet 55 with 6 people on board. It was a medevac sort of medical flight going from Philadelphia to Branson, Missouri, and just before, not even 1,500 feet off of the ground, somehow it makes this straight crash landing near the Roosevelt Mall in the northeast part of Philadelphia, not too far from the center of the city. And it's looking like 6 people have lost their lives. And again, no word on the specifics of where the plane went down precisely. We don't know if it crashed onto any homes. I do know in one of the photos I saw from the Associated Press, there are row homes, and then the plane crashed on this side of row homes. Were there more homes back there? From that vantage point in a photo, I can't see from here, but we'll know more information as we get it. And you can follow us on Truth Social at RSBN, also on X at RSBN Network. Obviously, we cover a lot of Washington, D.C., the White House, Pentagon, Supreme Court. We'll be covering the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu traveling to see the president next week. But outside of that, of course, America First stories. And unfortunately, sometimes we have these terrible incidents to share with you as a network as we want to see what happened in Philadelphia. And also, I like what President Trump said the other day at the press briefing about the Wednesday night crash when it came to the Black Hawk helicopter colliding with the American Airlines jet. He said, you know, sometimes the investigation, it's 3 years down the road and then they finally come out with something. And he shared options of what could have happened there. And he said it was through common sense, you know, on the situation there. And of course, we can go over that in just a second. But right now, of course, this pretty breaking news just about pretty recently happened, breaking news in Philadelphia at around between 6 and 6:30 this happened. So we'll see if we could possibly get Father Frank Pavone on the line here, and maybe we can get Dan back on the line, as he had a lot of great details for us when it comes to aviation. So I'm going to ask him here if he can hop back on with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and we'll hear from his aviation expert and expertise. And we'll see if he can do that here. So we'll see if he is able to get that message. Again, he just joined us at the top of the broadcast. I knew a few pilots and made some calls, and we were joined by a former major commercial airline pilot, a family friend of ours back in Pennsylvania. And he's an ex-pilot now, and he talked about a little bit of the situation both on Wednesday and also on tonight on Friday night. And then, of course, Dan Melican with Taking Off, which is a YouTube channel. He's on there talking about all sorts of things. And he said he can join us in about 2 minutes. And we'll have him join us live here as we await any more press conferences and any more coverage. As you see there, I believe from the vantage point from back here, that I believe is Sean Duffy. They're on the phone making calls. It doesn't matter what time it is anymore when it comes to developments, of course. Go ahead, producer. Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we're seeing, of course, if you can read that, basically the Secretary of Transportation communicating with the President of the United States and showing full support there for the situation in Philadelphia. So again, we may be joined in a couple minutes by the flight aviation expert, a guy that has joined us earlier. And then we'll join him once again. Again, his name is Dan Milliken. His YouTube channel is called Taking Off. So we're going to go to him in just a second, for those of you just joining us, to talk to us about more of the small aircraft, because we did talk to him about Wednesday night's situation, of course, the tragic event over the Potomac, but his expertise is also with, he's a pilot for general aviation aircraft. And he joins us live right now. Dan, thank you again for joining us on Right Side. Can you talk to us again about your expertise when it comes to small plane crashes? And then also, now that we talked earlier, you said it was about 1,275 feet right after takeoff. So can you talk to us, what could happen in those minutes?
Well, in looking at the video too, he's coming out of the clouds. So we talk in terms at weather of ceilings. So the ceiling at the time of the crash was very low. I mean, definitely under 1,000 feet. And so when you take off in that environment, you're almost immediately into what we call in aviation instrument meteorological conditions, or IMC. And when you're in that, you can't see anything. So at that point, you transition 100% to your instruments. And if something were to happen, things can go south really fast because everything's happening at once, and that low to the ground and everything else. So it definitely, it would be highly unlikely that it's icing, as we talked about before, having only reached 1,275 feet and it's 48 degrees. So you probably rule that out, but the spatial disorientation that we talked about, that is something the investigators, I'm sure, will look at, and or mechanical problems is what they'll look at. And as far as my experience, I've been flying for 10 years. I have my own Cessna six-seater plane that I fly around.
So here's the thing, though. So if they're taking off and they crash about 4.5 miles away near the Roosevelt Mall, they only make it to about 1,275 feet. What can be the possibility? What are some of the options here when it comes to them crashing at such a high rate of speed? As you saw that video, and as I spoke with the former pilot earlier, he said, quote, to his wife, he said, it looked like a missile came down that fast. So out of all your experience, what could cause something like that to specifically happen? Do you have any idea?
Well, yeah, if you get, and again, I don't want to speculate, but I'll just say what can lead to that. When you have spatial disorientation, you're in takeoff profile. You are running the engine at the most thrust during the flight it's going to have. So you're full thrust to whatever your takeoff speed is, and at that low, you're still at that thrust. You have your engines, up high, and if you were to get disoriented and you think up is down or left is right, then you basically, the aviation term is controlled flight into terrain. And again, not saying that's what happened here, but CFIT, controlled flight into terrain, can happen, especially if you're disoriented, where you fly a perfectly good airplane straight into the ground. And it'll look like that. So they didn't have enough altitude to like really, pick up speed to come down or anything like that.
So can you break it down a little bit more for us when it comes to, say you and I are in a plane and we're flying, whether it's a Learjet. First of all, let's break that down. The Learjet versus the Cessna and that kind of thing. The speed of a Learjet is going to go much quicker than a Cessna when it comes to where this all happened. Am I right?
Yes. Absolutely. Things are happening faster. You have, and I'm pulling up that particular airport up on my phone. Things happen fast. You're moving fast. I mean, I show that over the ground, they were moving about 242 knots. That's probably 275 miles an hour. So, yeah, and that's not unusual speed for a Learjet to start. When they get up to altitude, they'll be moving a lot faster than that. But it just depends on what that model is.
Can you talk to us about the disorientation, though? I've never, took any, pilot classes or anything like that, but I've been in quite a few planes, as many of our viewers have too. But so if a Learjet's taking off at Philadelphia Northeast Airport, there's clouds, the low ceiling, they're in the clouds. How in the world right away would someone lose the visual there? I know you'll see clouds, but how do you start not knowing which way's up if you're already going up? You know what I mean? So how does that work?
Well, your body has, we have these three axes in each ear, and you have the biomedical whole thing about how you can tell balance and how up is up and down is down, and it's amazing it's amazingly easy to fool your body. So if you were to close your eyes and get in a chair that spins, and you were to keep your eyes spinning or closed, and I start spinning you, and I slowly stop the spin, your body's gonna tell you you're still spinning. So and I say, and then I pull the chair out from you, you're gonna just do this wild flight, flying off into the ground. The minor league baseball teams, you see the stunt where they put your head down on a baseball bat and,
yep.
and you run around in a circle. Well, what happens is when you have your head down and you spin, that totally messes up your sense of balance. It's a physiological response and leads to spatial disorientation where you can't walk right. In an airplane, you could be flying along in IMC. In other words, you can't see anything because you're in the clouds. Um, and you could drop your pencil and reach down on the floor to pick it up. And if you were to have turned at that moment, your body's telling you you're doing something totally different than what's really happening, and you can have different control inputs. However, again, not saying that's the case here in the Learjet, because most of the time they're going to have advanced avionics. These pilots are trained to fly in this. They're trained, especially the air medical pilots. These guys are good. They know what they're doing. So what the standard procedure is, you're going to have everything loaded into your navigation, your GPS, your autopilot, everything else. As soon as you're probably up pretty quick, you're already in the clouds, you probably go ahead and engage the autopilot, which is going to climb you and do all the flying and everything else. So again, investigators will look at that as, did something happen with the autopilot? Where was the data inputted correctly into the nav that controls the autopilot? It could be, or did they even not engage the autopilot yet? I mean, they still were pretty low. There are some people, when they fly 50 feet off the ground, they engage the autopilot. Some people really like to fly the airplane longer and will keep it hand flying, is what we call it. So it just all really depends.
I have a question for you that's probably out of the norm, but it's in some ways a common sense question, some ways in speculation. Now, we're not talking this specific situation here or on Wednesday night, anything like that, but outside of all that, in aviation, when it comes to outside, we have cellular situations. If cell phones are on, does it really mess with communications or other broadcast streams or anything else? Is there any kind of control that could happen in any kind of flying aircraft at all?
As far as like interference from personal communication devices?
Or whether that or any kind of interference in any way, shape, or form?
Absolutely. Now, as far as cell phones and plane mode and airplane mode and all that, that's, to me, is way overkill. Yes, there are really extreme situations where something can happen, but it's been pretty much proven that with the technology we have today, that they don't interfere. So I think to some degree it's bogus about like your phone can mess up the nav stuff. But there are things that can, GPS is a signal, it's coming in from the satellites. If your antenna is not, something's wrong, or you can't pick up a satellite for electromagnetic interference, whatever, then yes, you can have issues with your navigation. There, you look at Ukraine and everything else there, you can't really fly GPS because of all the jamming that's going on. So there are jamming capabilities, but you don't see that in the U.S. But there are situations, and we're trained in our instrument flying, which is what we train for when we're flying in IMC, is that you have to have a certain level of confidence in the GPS signal that you're getting from all the different satellites. You have to have a certain number of satellites that you're connected to and everything else. And if it ever fails, you have other navigation ways as well. And I don't even know if they were flying GPS. That's just one way you can fly. You can also fly what they call a localizer, or ILS. Of course, that's for landing. But you have other navigation aids as well, something called a VOR, which is a radio signal base that you can tune into, and your autopilot can fly that. So, I don't know for sure, what they were doing on this flight, if they were hand flying, if they autopilot it with GPS or with something else. But yes, things can interfere. Do they? Not so much. I mean, it's a rare event here.
And then what you were saying earlier, before I let you go, Dan, thanks again for joining us live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As it's 9:30, the bottom of the hour, you're looking live in Philadelphia as you see President Trump saying, obviously, his remarks and his condolences to the families there, to this tragedy. Dan, you were saying that if the jet engines were at full throttle pretty much because they're just taking off, approaching at that 1,275 foot mark, and somehow is up in that area in the clouds is where things went down. And the jet engines were still at full throttle, it seemed, because it was going down so fast. So from that perspective, we know that you're not NTSB, but what would you say, how did that happen?
Well, I don't know. Again, we try not to speculate, and we just look at what we do know, the known knowns. How fast the airplane crashed is hard to tell. We don't know how fast. It looked fast on the video, sure, but if it's only coming down from 900 feet, it's going to be a split second anyway, even if it was with no thrust. So just seeing it on video, we can't determine the speed, so we don't know how fast. It very well could have been an engine out, and it's just coming down from 1,200 feet at that angle. It's, even in my small Cessna, I can be at altitude, I can be at 15,000 feet, and I can pull the throttle all the way back and nose over, and within seconds, I can be going dangerously close to my never exceed speed for the airplane. So and that's without any thrust. You can very easily get an airplane to go fast when you're going down.
And so also in your flying experience then, when you look on Flight Radar 24 or you look at various sites and you see all of the planes across the United States, all the planes across Europe and around the world, and if you zoom out, all you see is planes everywhere. You don't see the actual geographical map. You see the planes, right? So when you're flying out there and you're looking to the right, the left, all around your radar, your communications, how busy does it really seem out there when you're just flying in the open sky, though?
Well, it totally depends on what airspace you're in. If you're in a major metropolitan area, yeah, it's going to be pretty busy. And we have, it's not, Flight Radar 24 or Flight Aware or any of those. We have technology available to us even on our iPads. A lot of pilots, like the main go-to app that people use, there are others as well, is an app called ForeFlight. When you pull that up, if you have a certain kind of small technology in your plane, it'll send you the traffic that's around you according to, this gets kind of complicated. I don't know how much in the weeds you want me to get, but there's something called ADSB, and it's the transponder that's on the plane, and it's broadcasting out the plane's altitude, speed, the type, and some other kind of like metadata, if you would. And you got your ADSB going out. Then you can also, if you have a device, a receiver that can take ADSB in, you can see everybody else doing ADSB. But here's the kicker. ADSB is only required in certain airspace. So you can be out in the country flying along, and if you're looking at your iPad going, oh, I'm perfectly safe, I don't see any planes around, that can be really dangerous because you don't have to have the ADSB technology in operation on your plane in that kind of airspace. But in a metropolitan area, yes, everybody's required, usually within like a major airport, within 30 miles, they're going to be required inside that 30 miles from the airport to have this technology going. It was a technology that the FAA mandated about 6 years ago, and we all had to pay and put that kind of technology in our plane.
Wow, I mean, it's quite something. As we take a live look there in Philadelphia, as you see the camera trying to get the position correctly for what we're about to see there, which has been the situation in Philadelphia near the Roosevelt Mall. You see all of the emergency vehicles. Dan Melican is joining us live. This is Taking Off is his YouTube channel. And tell us again what you're up to on that channel.
So on the channel, we do a lot of news, aviation news. We do a lot of aviation investigations, and we also do a lot of aviation programming as far as talk shows, come fly along videos. I told you I'd recently have added a helicopter license to my list of licenses, and so you might see a video of me training in helicopters. We have a couple of different co-hosts, and so you'll see them as well. So that's what the channel does. And by the way, just looking at Flight Radar 24, so coming out of Northeast Philadelphia Airport, the plane appears to have taken off on runway 24. So they were in a southwest heading. Runways, if you don't know, 24 means a compass direction of 240. That's how all runways are numbered. So it's the first, 24 is going to be a heading of 240, so southwest. So a runway that's 18 is 180 degrees, that would be due south.
Okay, so then if I just cut you off here and just ask you about then Wednesday night, we know that the American Airlines flight was going to runway 33, so that's 330, right? That's
correct. So a northwest.
Okay, that's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, didn't know that information. So other than that, you were saying on Flight Radar 24 that this happened around 6 o'clock. They're taking off there, and they only made it to, you said, 1,275 feet or so. How accurate are these websites like that?
And that's what I want to pull up. There's always a chance I've pulled up the wrong flight or something like that. And so I just want to make sure that this is not NTSB locked down information yet. And this is why they take time to look at it, because mistakes can happen. And again, why we don't want to speculate or anything else. If I've got the right flight loaded on Flight Radar 24, that's the information we have. How accurate it is, it's pretty accurate because it's pulling off of that ADS-B transponder from the plane.
Right.
Because broadcasting that signal, everybody gets it. So these apps like Flight Radar 24 or FlightAware or any of those apps, the reason why you see all the planes is because those are ones that have ADS-B. There might be planes out there that don't, and you're not going to see them.
Right. And so what you were saying earlier from Flight Radar 24 is that they only reached approximately 1,275 feet of altitude, a Learjet. This also I saw on various posts as well from some pretty credible sources. I believe it was Nick Sorter and others saying that this was a flight registered in Mexico with those that tail number. Is it called XAUCI? Is that how you say it?
Well, yeah, in aviation we have to phonetically spell it out, so it'd be X-ray Alpha and all that. But yeah,
okay, yeah. So
XA is the code for Mexico. For the United States, it's November. It's in.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen that on various planes here as well. So, it's looking like that is the specific plane that we're talking about because, again, how many planes are taking off right around 6 or 6:30 from a smaller airport like that one in Philadelphia? Obviously, this is not the major airport down a bit south of there. This is northeast of the airport, a smaller regional airport, and it matches the description of a Learjet and also the crash site only 4.3 miles away from the airport near the Roosevelt Mall. So most likely this is the plane. We, Dan and I here can't confirm that, of course. Tim and I can't verify that because we're not the officials on the ground. But sir, again, thank you for joining us. Once again, can you share with the people where they can follow you?
Yes, if you go to YouTube, just search "Taking Off," and you should be able to find us. You'll see the logo that looks like this, and just click on that. You can subscribe, watch our videos, and everything else. And
all right.
So yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, Dan Milliken. Thank you again, sir. All right, so it is 9:39 Eastern Time. As you saw, the expert there on with us talking all about small planes and all about what it's like to fly in all sorts of situations. Sometimes you need that extra information, even if you think it's sometimes common sense. Well, it's a little bit difficult when, obviously, if you're not a pilot or you have no idea what the spatial situations are with the clouds and all of that. So learning as we go here, as you see that terrible video there on the left side of your screen, a drone flies over the site of the plane crash near Roosevelt Mall in northeast Philadelphia. This is on the OSIN, the OSIN Tech Offender site. Look at that actual picture there. That's unbelievable in a dense area where the plane went down. And this again is not a smaller, Cessna small plane, a single engine prop plane. This was a Learjet. This was a medical plane. This had 6 people on board, so it's a sizable plane. And it went down just after takeoff there, not too far from that location specifically. So the right side of your screen, obviously some distance from what happened on the left side of your screen. Of course, the media will only be able to go so far as you see the roads shut down. So firefighters can do their job. Their first responders can do theirs. And police, of course, locking down that situation there. This happened again at about between 6 and 6:30. We've heard various reports on when it happened. Again, just to remind you on the details that we have learned here at the network, a medevac plane with the jet ambulance group taking off at about 6:30 at about 1,275 feet. That's the highest the plane got. And then somehow, for some reason, crashed to the ground. 6 people on board, according to the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who's in touch with President Trump. And if we can show that Truth Social post once again from the president, who was briefed on this incident and who was talking to the Secretary of Transportation earlier, Sean Duffy, President Trump saying, "So sad to see the plane go down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. More innocent souls lost. Our people are totally engaged. First responders are already being given credit for doing a great job. More to follow. God bless you all." Sad times right now on this Friday night, January 31st. As we remember, just 48 hours ago, just more than 48, about 49 hours ago at this point, the terrible incident over the Potomac River. So on the other side of things, we see a lot of great things happening in our country when it comes to getting our country back on track. But unfortunately, breaking news tonight in Philadelphia. As you see the live picture on your right, on the left, that is the great Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, the great appointee and now sworn-in secretary, with a lot of work to take care of there when it comes to the details of figuring out what happened on this crash, but also on the collision that claimed 67 lives on Wednesday night. So our prayers are for everyone involved, family, friends, and loved ones who are receiving this news at this hour, whether in the Philadelphia region or in Branson, Missouri, where this plane was destined to go, and for some reason it didn't make it. So again, our thoughts and our prayers with all the loved ones, the people that are hurting tonight, and of course people that are still mourning the loss of 67 people from 2 nights ago. So we are praying here for God's comfort during a time that sometimes we don't understand why things happen the way they do, but we do know that with God all things are possible, and He knows the details of what's going on, and we just pray for His mercy and grace and His power to just comfort the people that are dealing with such tragic loss in such an instant way tonight and over the Potomac River. It's 9:44 Eastern Time. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez here live. Obviously, we were here live throughout the day. Robert McNeely and I covering various events at the White House, the press briefing from earlier today. Some questions, of course, asked to President Trump yesterday regarding various things that happened with the Wednesday night aviation disaster there over the Potomac. Still watching the videos from both Wednesday night and now tonight, still unbelievable, because at the end of the day, what we saw on Wednesday was that American Airlines flight flying in to that final approach to runway 33 at Reagan National. And somehow the Black Hawk helicopter, who has a 200-foot ceiling, so it can only be about 200 feet up, was around 400 in the line of sight of the American Airlines jet. So the American Airlines jet is moving like that, and then this helicopter, I thought originally was also flying in the same direction. It was actually hovering right in that specific area and then impact. That happened on Wednesday. Many questions yet there, many speculation out there as well. Speculation, thoughts, and now's not the time to talk more about that. But in general, though, President Trump saying common sense comments at the press briefing about the helicopter. It could have moved a certain way, and it's just a terrible situation that happened there in an instant over the Potomac River. And then tonight, this flight out of the Philadelphia Northeast Airport. So again, this is not the main Philadelphia airport, which is considerably south of the airport that this one took off at. So again, it's a regional airport up to the northeast of the city. They were on their way to Branson only a few minutes into this flight, because it's only 4.3 miles from that Roosevelt Mall, which is right there, to where the airport is. It's about a 13-14 minute drive. We looked it up on our GPS here just to see the distance. And of course, we heard there from Dan, who was on the line with us. So we're also hearing what the plane may have looked like. I'm seeing an image here of one of the planes. We're hearing that a pediatric patient who received care for a life-threatening illness in the United States was aboard the Learjet, this according to NBC, and have no problem crediting a place like NBC when it comes to these types of stories, these kind of events, as we all, as a media, look at what's happening, but not on the political side of things. That's totally different. But when it comes to specifics on this, reading about it right now, a pediatric patient. This also reported by Fox 29, a local affiliate in Philly, that a pediatric patient who received care for a life-threatening illness in the United States was aboard that Learjet 55. According to Shai Gold, a spokesman for Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, the girl, one of 6 people on the flight, was returning to Tijuana, Mexico. The others on the plane, including her mother, a pilot, a co-pilot, a doctor, and a paramedic, Gold said. Jet Rescue Air Ambulance does not believe anyone on the plane survived the crash. Quote, all I can say is the patient was sponsored by a third partner charity to undergo life-saving treatment in the United States. She did her course of care. She was going home. She fought quite a lot to survive, and unfortunately this tragedy happened on the way home. Due to privacy law, the spokesperson for this company, the Jet Rescue Air Ambulance, said he could give no more details on the patient's condition or treatment. So that some more information coming out of this tragic situation out of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, will have some remarks on the plane crash in Philadelphia. As we get it, we'll go to it. Again, we're here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We 100% understand the right side of things and conservative values here at this network, and our hearts go out, of course, to the victims' families in this situation. But we will hear from the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, who, of course, politically, it's a totally different ballgame. But when it comes down to it, he is the governor of Pennsylvania. So we will be going to that, which I believe he will be there on the bottom right of your screen. So if he's already down in Philly, obviously Harrisburg, the state capital of the Keystone State, then Shapiro, the governor there, will be most likely already in the Philadelphia area, as this happened some time ago now at this point. It's 9:49 on the East Coast. This happened around 6 to 6:30. I'm sure the governor received a call right around that time, if not 6:45, 7 o'clock. The trip from Harrisburg to Philadelphia, about an hour and 30 minutes, about 98 to 99 miles, as I have traveled that with my family before. My wife and I are from Pennsylvania originally. We've driven the turnpike from Harrisburg to Philadelphia before, have been in that city and have seen that city many times. So if he traveled, with an escort of state troopers, Pennsylvania state troopers, going on the turnpike there at a pretty quick clip, they are probably there with Governor Shapiro, as he will be stepping up to the podium. That may be the crew coming up right now. If it's not him, if that's the mayor, we'll just go to the mayor press conference. Maybe the governor is with him. We'll see here any second from now. But again, you can see expected to give that press conference at any moment. So this may be the governor of Pennsylvania and the mayor of Philadelphia live right here on RSBN Live, as we're about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. This tragic news, this breaking news, here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go live right now to Philadelphia.
He's managing the incident.
Commissioner here.
He's managing the incident. Still an active incident.
Want to thank you all again for joining us. I want to give a quick recap of the information we shared earlier, and then we will give you some additional facts. An aircraft went down in the vicinity of Roosevelt Mall on Cottman Avenue, and it did occur shortly after 6 p.m. Again, we have no reports on the number of fatalities, so we are asking everyone for their thoughts and prayers for all who may have been impacted and affected by this tragedy. Several dwellings and vehicles were also impacted, and so we are urging people, particularly those families who live in the surrounding area, to please stay home if possible. If you see any debris, and those who are conducting the investigations have repeated consistently, please do not touch anything because it is still an active investigation. Just call 911, please, if you see anything. Investigators and all of our federal, state, and local partners are working as expeditiously as possible during this very difficult time. New information that we want to share with you, that shelter is now available at the Samuel Fells High School located at 5500 Langdon Street. Samuel Fells High School, 5500 Langdon Street. If anyone has been impacted and you need shelter and support, it is readily available for you. In terms of our federal and state partners, I want to say a special thank you to the NTSB. They are here on site now. The FAA, the Pennsylvania State Police, Pennsylvania DEP, of course our police and fire departments, and OEM. I am here with Governor Shapiro. We've been in constant contact since it started. You'll be hearing from him shortly. But I also want to say a special thank you to our additional partners who we have spoken with, our federal leaders, U.S. Senators Fetterman and McCormick. Thank you so very much. All hands on deck. They wanted to make sure any and everything that we needed from the federal government, those supports and services are available. Congressman Evans, Boyle, and Scanlon, our congressional delegation, a special thank you to each of you for your support. I also need to affirm that locally here, Senator Joe Picozzi, Rep. Solomon, Reps. Nielsen, Doherty, who represents this area, and Bellman, Commissioner Dealey, and Council Member Driscoll was present. If there was ever a time when we needed to affirm what the One Philly philosophy means, the time is now, and I'm very proud about how our federal, state, and all of our local partners are working hard to deal with this tragedy. I now want to turn it over to our governor and to say thank you, Governor, for your support and being here with us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The mayor preaches about One Philly. She talks about a unified approach to governing every day. What you're seeing here is a unified response to an awful aviation disaster. For as awful as that aviation disaster was, tonight we also saw the best of Philly. We saw neighbor helping neighbor. We saw Pennsylvanians looking out for one another. I want to reaffirm the comments the mayor said about all of the different agencies working together, and I want to especially thank and salute Philly Fire and Philly Police, who did an extraordinary job this evening. We know that there will be loss in this region, and we want to offer our thoughts and our serious prayers for those who are grieving at this moment. The mayor knows, and I want you all to know, that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania stands firmly with our partners in the city. We have, at the request of Commissioner Bethel, 45 state troopers who are on the ground right here in Northeast Philly. We have 25 members of our PennDOT team who are here right now. We have members of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Authority who are here, including our director, Randy Padfield, who joins me behind here. We also have members of DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, who are here to make sure that any hazardous materials are addressed. And as you heard the mayor reference, we're joined by several state representatives and senators. I want to thank them. They will make sure that whatever is needed for this community gets to this community. I also spoke earlier this evening with the United States Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Duffy, who offered his full support to Northeast Philly. And as the mayor alluded to, he has dispatched 4 members of the FAA to Philly, and there are 4 members of NTSB on their way as well. We have all the resources that we need. And again, as the mayor always says, one Philly, we are unified in our approach to deal with this emergency. And again, I'll just end by sharing my prayers, the prayers of my wife, Lori, our First Lady, and on behalf of 13 million Pennsylvanians, we are all here for Northeast Philly tonight in this very, very difficult moment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all. When we have additional information to report, we will come back and give another briefing. But now we want to let our federal, state, and local partners do their jobs and go to work. We'll report back to you when we have more information. Thank you all so very much for your patience and understanding.
All right, so the Governor Shapiro there traveling to Philadelphia from the capital of PA, of course, Harrisburg, about an hour 40-minute drive there. As we know, 6 people have lost their lives in this medvac style of aircraft, a Learjet, as you're taking a live look there. That's the WTXF, that's Fox 29 in Philadelphia, for this live feed in the city of brotherly love. Obviously, a city hurting tonight because of what happened at about 6 o'clock when that plane was trying to get to Branson, Missouri, and somehow went down after only making it about 1,200 to 1,300 feet in the air. Again, it was about 48 degrees on the ground there, so it wasn't like it was an icing situation, most likely. We'll wait for the NTSB, of course, as the cameras start to move around there. But you can see on the right side of your screen on the bottom, Governor Shapiro there, the Mayor Parker as well, giving a quick update. Again, one of the things that we've been wondering is the details of the cars and the residences that have been hit by the plane, the fires that ensued. If there are any more injuries or anything worse, we don't know at this point. But we can tell you that it's been obviously a very tough night in Philadelphia. We are live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We will see you again soon here on the network. Follow us on Truth, on X, and follow us on our website, rsbnetwork.com. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, God bless you. May God keep you, and we'll see you soon.